Hairy balls, does whatever a hairy ball does. Can you eat these hairy balls? No, you can't. Do you know why? Because today we're talking about Kiwi Ears Orchestra Lite. Let's go! Some chifi brands have better names than others, and in my opinion, Kiwiears are right up there with an awesome name. I mean, it is just simply perfect, paying tribute to the hairy brown fruit. Today we're going to talk about the Kiwi Ears Orchestra Lite. So the thing is, I got a loaner unit, and as such I won't be doing any unboxing, and we'll just jump straight into the build quality of the Orchestra Lites. Now these are like what you see on a gazillion of IEMs out there, yet another custom universal shape. I mean, at this point of time it's really getting quite boring. It has a green faceplate that is rather simple looking with the Kiwiears logo right smack in the center. The faceplate isn't the most intricate that I've seen, and what it has is just like some greenish thing with whitey swirly bits around. It does also come in a blue faceplate for our Smurf loving friends. I need to point out one thing that is cool about the Orchestra Lite, and that would be that these are a filled IEM. That is to say that the space between the drivers and the shell is actually filled with something, and with this adds magnification when you look at the drivers, so they actually kind of look bigger than they are. Build quality on the Orchestra Lite is pretty good. Although made of plastic, they do feel quite substantial, resulting from it being filled. Inside the chassis houses 8 balanced armatures. You don't see many companies doing this these days. Many opt for a hybrid design with a dynamic driver for the bass, while balanced armature handles the mid-range and treble, resulting in a completely different tonality. Kiwiears opting to go full balanced armature brings about a refreshing tone that was popular years ago, where multi-balanced armature setup was really popular, and reintroducing this today is very interesting. The Orchestra Lite comes with a 2-pin termination. The cable on the Orchestra Lite is of 4-core 7N oxygen-free copper cable terminated to a 3.5mm. These are pretty supple, not particularly microphonic. I do feel that the braided cable has been done to death these days. They do feel like they are of decent quality, and I have no real complaints when using them. For people new to the hobby, I guess they might like this sort of thing. One thing to point out is that the nozzle of the Orchestra Lites are made from the same material as the casing and does not have a lip to grip your ear tips. Also, the nozzle does run larger than the average IEM. So this means that you have to be quite careful with ear tip selection. Either you get some with a larger bore or choose others that have a stretchy core. Thankfully, the final Type E does stretch and grip onto the nozzle quite adequately. And in terms of fit, the Orchestra Lite does latch onto my ears quite nicely. I mean, it's a custom universal shape, which means it should fit most ears. It does not have any strange angles that might come in contact with my strange areas on my ears, so it fits quite nicely. These earphones are unvented, so you might get some pressure built up if you are using them for long hours. For short listening, this isn't really an issue, but for those of you who plug in for hours on end, then I think it's something to consider. The cable on this, as mentioned, isn't too microphonic, and overall it's pretty manageable. I can see myself walking across town with this in my ears without causing too much of a problem. And next, we're going to talk about sound. Now, first things first, the Kiwiears Orchestra Lites are an all-BA design, and as such they have an old-school balanced armature tonality that is popular during the days of the 55510s and Westone UM3x. Although it will graph quite similarly to what we have in modern times, the tone that you get from these will be quite different. You do not get the resonant impact of bass that is more commonplace these days, but rather a focus on the small nitty-gritty details rather than dynamics. The Kiwiears Orchestra Lite is a leading example of bass done by a balanced armature. It is fast, rapid, and accurate without the dynamics that we are more accustomed to today from the dynamic drivers. Sub-bass here is rendered in a way where you get the fundamental frequencies without the resonance and hitting impact. So details are quite clear. I would say that the sub-bass on the Orchestra Lite is clean and accurate. The transition into mid-bass is linear and carries the same characteristics of focusing on bass details over impact. This is great for listening to intricate bass lines, enabling you to focus easier. The transients on the bass frequencies is fast, texture here is good as well. Dynamics in the bass region is good but does not have the same explosiveness that is rendered by a dynamic driver. Mid-range on the Orchestra Lite takes center stage. They are the clear highlight of these IEM. Vocals are crisp and clear with good levels of detail. This of course is aided by the polite bass response where it does not bleed into the mid-range. It has quite a smooth and large response when it comes to vocals. They are not particularly warm, and I would say that in terms of tonal colour, they are quite neutral sounding. One thing to note is that despite listening to a large range of genres, I do like how the Orchestra Lite renders different vocal characteristics, making the music overall easy to listen to without much grittiness. Instruments maintain the same approachable nature. They are clear, distinct without demanding too much of your attention. There isn't too much of an edge, but it isn't dull sounding either. Mid-range on the whole is very polite, but does it in a way where it is still pretty interesting to listen to. I think that this is a very classy rendering of the mid-range. Treble on the Kiwiears is present but not overly energetic. It maintains enough of an edge to give good levels of resolution with other frequency ranges. Extension on it is fine, but not towards the extremes. I do find them adequately airy, but again, it's not like super duper airy, it's just okay airy. And cymbals on these are realistic without exaggerated shimmer. I don't find that the treble response on these to be fatiguing either. Soundstage, with regards to width and height, the Orchestra Lite does a decent job. I think that they are rather average. They are slightly wider than tall, and this is probably due to the nature of balanced armature dynamics. Depth and positioning. Positioning here is good, while depth can be a bit better, probably due to, again, the dynamic level of the balanced armatures. And of course, we're going to compare it with another popular IEM out there these days, that is the Final A5000. Now, against the similarly priced A5000, the A5000 has an edge when it comes to resolution as it picks out fine details quite a bit better. The A5000 also does sound a bit cleaner but with more detail. The Orchestra Lite is more polite in terms of presentation and sounds overall smoother by comparison. But as such, in terms of fine details, I think the A5000 has beaten the Kiwiears Orchestra Lite. So if you're the type of person who likes to actively listen to your music, like pick out the layers of music to listen to, or listen to specifically the vocals, I think the A5000 is a better choice. However, if you like a more relaxed listen, such as just music being in the background, I think that the Kiwiears is perfect as it is melodious and enjoyable and does not demand too much of your attention. And finally, in conclusion, at the end of it, the Kiwiears is a great recommendation for someone looking for an easy listening earphone. However, I do wish for a bit more dynamics on the Orchestra Lite. It does really remind me of the Westone UM3x and 55510s that I had years ago. And with that said, thank you guys for watching a Super Chong Super Audio Show. I hope you liked today's episode, and I hope that I don't sound too funny. The cold is clearing up and I'm feeling much better today. If you like the content so far, please kindly press the like and subscribe button right here down below. It will help me out a bunch and it will cure my flu even faster. With that said, I hope to see you guys soon. Bye!